All right, let's talk about color. Big reminder for this color talk and to keep in mind for the rest of the term, reproductions do not get a perfect color match to the originals. They'll get you an understanding, they'll kind of get you close, but just keep that in mind. If something doesn't feel like it's an exact complement or something, it's likely because your reproduction is not doing the original justice. All right, we've got Van Gogh's Night Cafe, 1888 here. Do you have an uneasy feeling? You've got a very strange POV, point of view. The perspective is distorted. This is not like a good vanishing point perspective. Mood, does the color kind of freak you out? It should, and we'll talk about why here in a minute. Focal point. Looking around, are you feeling kind of drunk or hungover since the lights are just so bright? The pool table feels a bit like it's morphine. It doesn't look right. Like, are you gonna puke or pass out? The POV, let's go back to that. It's a little bit bird's eye, right? You are not standing on the ground in that room. You're sort of floating above it. So are you standing on the bar top? It does not feel like that kind of party, considering it looks like half of our patrons are full on asleep. To me, it looks to you like you sort of passed out at the bar and this is a distorted vision of your soul hovering over your body. You're like having a blackout drunk near-death experience or something. So that's kind of why it's a little bit freaky to start with, where they've given you this point of view that's just a very distorted, messed up, floating above your head kind of feeling. So the focal point and the point of view are doing a lot to tell that story. But the colors are an important part of adding to the mood and tone as well. That bilious green and that slime yellow are doing a lot to help with that nauseous sort of weird drunk hallucination kind of feel from the distorted space. Let's get back to that here in a second. Aspects of color. All right, you got value. All right, so write this down. Not that you haven't been writing down 100 things already, but low value is dark. High value is light. So light versus dark, high versus low. Intensity, like pure red versus dark maroon or pale pastel pink. The relationship is sort of intensity and value together. So one color may be more intense at a different value than another. This is known and utilized by artists for many, many years. And we will look at the color scheme here for a better understanding of what analogous and complementary and things mean. So intensity and saturation are a relationship between value. Let's get into that a little bit more with some examples. All right, so we've got the color wheel. Just basic reminder here of, I don't know, I would say kindergarten, first grade. I don't know, my son's in kindergarten. I feel like they're not covering this. New curriculum. All right, so primary colors. You got red, yellow, blue. Secondary colors, you got red and yellow make orange. Red and blue make purple. Blue and yellow make green. So you've got those secondary colors, which are the mixes of primaries. Tertiary colors are the mix of a primary and a secondary. So that's when you get like yellow, green, blue, green. I don't know. What would you call that? Like reddish orange, right? You got orange here. You got it add half part more red. It's reddish orange, right? So you've got your primaries mixed together to make a secondary. A primary plus a secondary makes a tertiary. All right. This is the color wheel that you may be more familiar with. It's all of the primary, secondary, tertiary colors. And so color schemes, what we've got here, you've got analogous typed over here in the left corner for you. Analogous means neighbors. An analogous color scheme means you've stuck with neighbors, right? Blue-green color scheme, a blue-purple color scheme, a yellow-orange color scheme, right? Complementary means opposite. So red, green, those are opposites on the color wheel. Christmas is a complementary color scheme. Note down here, it's spelled out for you. It's complementary as in to complete with an E, not complimentary like with an I to be like, oh, what a lovely dress you're wearing. No, it is complementary with an E. It means to complete. So half around and half around, you've completed the color wheel. So those opposites on the wheel are complements. It was a 19th century discovery that your retina actually stores an after image of the complement of whatever color you're looking at. So you essentially get a double effect of the two colors when you put the two colors next to each other. Because when you're looking at red, your retina is storing green. So if then you put some green next to the red, then your retina is storing red where it sees green and green where it's seeing red. So you're getting a double dose of both colors. Something special was known about complementary colors, and it's been used for hundreds of years before the retina science was known. I hope I've got it in my notes here, but all right. So let's look at an example of this. So you've looked at what the complementary colors are across this view. Let's have a look at this. I want you to see this red dot in the middle. I want you to stare at it for 60 seconds. You can blink, but just don't move your eyes around. Just keep looking at that dot, blink when you need to. And when I call time, try to either look at a white or blank wall around you or just like hold up a piece of paper in your space. So let me start the stopwatch now. Stare at that screen for a full minute. You can blink, but just keep looking at that red dot in the middle. What we're doing right now is sort of overloading your retinas. They are storing the complement to the colors you're looking at because that's what happens. When you're looking at red, you're storing green. So we're going to just tire out those retinas with how much of the complementary color they can store at one time. And then we're going to, you got 10 more seconds. Just keep looking at that red dot. We're going to give them a break against a white surface. So go ahead and look at that white surface now. Cool. Do you see the complementary colors from what you were looking at here? Does it look like a real red, white, and blue American flag? All right. I hope I've just blown your mind that your retinas really do store the complement of whatever color you're looking at. You're welcome. Notice that retinal science was done in the, 19th century, so 1800s. This is Raphael's School of Athens from 1510. You can see he's used complementary colors all over the place. The colors are off here slightly. Like that guy isn't really wearing orange. He's wearing like golden yellow. This is not salmon, it's orange. So what you're looking at here is Plato in orange-ish, Aristotle in blue. They had opposing philosophical views, and they've got opposing complementary colors on. This complementary color scheme right there in the center, sort of in the middle of your line of sight down this hallway is your focal point, right? You've got these central focal characters. All right, so complementary colors do a thing. Let's talk about intensity. This is Monet's Seaside Terrace, 1867. Impressionism, there are no outlines. So like look at the French flag on the right. Um, the color is what makes the shapes without barrier lines. There are no outlines here. What we call that, I mean, we're going to talk about line here in a few minutes, but that's an implied line. So without an outline, so without being able to sort of use black to outline these shapes, the artist really has to know their colors and the contrasts and the intensities of each. So intensity is just sort of the richness of a color. So a low value blue, like French flag blue, is more intense than a light sort of mid-value sky blue. You would call it, which blue, because we got a lot of blues going on here. So you got a blue part of a flag on a blue sky over blue water. How does he make that flag stand out without having that black outline? Well, he's using his values and intensities masterfully. So you've got this low value blue is much more intense, so it sticks out, it pops, it comes forward, versus, you know, these pale blues in the background. So blue is more intense at a low value. You can totally write that down. Whereas if you look at the flag on the left, what's the most intense is this yellow. But do you notice that it's the highest value yellows that are the most intense? So the lighter yellows, the ones mixed with more white, are the brightest. So high value yellows, this high value yellow umbrella she has, is intense. You've got that saturation, you've got the high value yellows are more intense, whereas high value blues are quite soft. Low value blues are very intense. If we want to look at now reds for our third example, you've got low value reds here. These sort of reds mixed with black, right? These shadowed reds. They're not terribly intense. But you know what? Neither is high value red. This pink here on highlights on the French flag, not terribly intense. The most intense red we have is just that straight saturation of red. Do you see those straight saturations of red here on these bright flowers on the highlights of this dark red flag, or the lowlights of the red on the French flag? You've got that pure saturation. If you dilute red with either black to give it shadow or with white to lighten it, you lose intensity. So red at just pure pigment saturation without being diluted with red, black or white is the most intense. So this piece here is a great example of intense blue is low value, intense yellow is high value, and intense red is just pure pigment saturation. So depending on the color, the intensity can be at a different value. All right. Finally, I believe in color land, yep, is warm versus cool. We talked about analogous color schemes being neighbors. There's kind of two different groups of neighbors on that color wheel. We can swing ourselves back to that color wheel. You've got your blues, purples, reds, and greens on this side. Then you've got your orange and yellows and I guess reds on that side. So you got purples and blues and greens. And then you got yellows and oranges and reds. Those are the two camps. If you could kind of cut the color wheel in half here, you would have your two sections between warm and cool. These are both Da Vinci's Virgin of the Rocks. The one on the left is the 1483, and the one on the right is the 1508. The first was commissioned by a church, but was sold privately by Da Vinci to pay some debts. The second was painted 25 years later of the same subject to fulfill that altarpiece commission for that church. So young Da Vinci on the left, it is warm colors. The background, the skin tones, the clothes are all warm colors. It's sunny, right? So you've got these sunny, warm browns and yellows and reds. We've got a complement here with Mary's cloak, right? But in general, this is a sunny, warm, red, orange, warm brown, yellow toned analogous color scheme with this blue complement. So analogous neighbors, warm yellows, oranges, red tones. On the right, you've got this one that he painted later in his life. It's all cool colors, blues in the black background, blues in the skin tones, and the clothes. So warm colors are generally associated with happiness and energy. Cool tones are usually either sadness or tranquility, quiet. Can you feel the difference in almost the temperature of what it is to look at these paintings? Same subject, same artist, but you kind of have to ask, like, what the hell happened to him in those 25 years in his adult life? So those analogous color schemes, you've got the warm versus the cool. Finally, a little moment here. This is Seurat's The Circus, 1891. The warm colors create a happy, energetic feel, right? So this feels like a warm, analogous color scheme. We got tons of yellows and oranges and reds. It's all very analogous warm colors. It's very happy, happy, happy. It's got an energetic feel. There's also a lot of movement to it. But there's actually like a secret complementary color thing going on here. So if you look at the shadows here, they're not low values of our analogous warm colors. This is not low value shadow reds and oranges. They're actually blues and greens. So the shadows are blue in the vicinity of the oranges and green in the vicinity of the yellows. These are not traditional brown and black shadows. So it looks like an analogous warm color scheme initially, but then those complements surrounding each warm color gives it that extra pop and vibration. So you're getting all of that retinal vibration magic from the complementary color scheme while still giving you that energy and that warmth of an analogous warm color tone. So moving on to the next part.